Hello there. Do you remember that scene in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy gets to the land of Oz and she sees the horse of a different color and she's absolutely amazed by it? Well, that's how I feel when I am playing with these yarns and changing the color. So I hope you are ready to join me on an exciting adventure and a magical experiment. Hi, welcome to the Wandering Stitches podcast. This is episode 2. My name is Jess and I would like to welcome you. If you are returning, thank you for coming back and stopping by and spending some time with me. And if you are new here, welcome. And I hope that you enjoy your time here. And I hope that you enjoy this content. I am a knitter and I love to explore other crafts, and today this episode is going to focus on natural dyeing. I just took a workshop. Just took a workshop. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. This is episode 2, so I still have some bugs to work out with my nerves. So let me start over. I just took a workshop with Marty from A Wrinkle in Time, so I would like to give all the credit to her as far as the methods and the techniques that I'm about to show you. She had a class last weekend at the Shaker Village where she led us through some yarn dyeing with natural dyes. I had discussed a little bit of this in episode 1. I will go into some more detail. We did not dye with Goldenrod, and that was something that I had wanted to experiment. And when I was visiting her farm, she had mentioned that she was having a class on natural dyeing literally the next day. So I was like, perfect, sign me up. So I got to spend the day with her and some other women who were just as equally excited in the dyeing process, and it was just a wonderful time. So if you have an opportunity to take any classes with Marty from A Wrinkle in Time, I would highly encourage it. She's a wonderful teacher, and she's just very enthusiastic about fiber arts, and she has sheep, so she will take you through any fiber art that you would want to learn. Needle felting, rug hooking, spinning, knitting, all this stuff. And she even had Nina, who was a resident artist. And excuse my dog, that's Josie. She's just hanging out in the background. So I took the class and felt confident enough with what I learned and just gave it a try. I was so excited I went out the next day to the Goodwill, and lo and behold, they had 2 crock pots, which I got. I'm not really quite sure what the specific, I think it might be 2 quarts. I just got sort of a catch-all pan. She had recommended that all the pieces be stainless steel, and a colander, some strainers, some wooden utensils. I got some tongs, and I had already had a little regular kitchen scale, because you'll want to weigh the fabric that you're using and the plant matter, because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. And as far as how much weight you have in your fabric and how much dry weight you have with your plant matter. And I believe that there are different other ratios with other different types of natural dyes. But she said that was sort of the golden rule. So that's what I used when I collected the goldenrod. I had a big lesson in how to store the goldenrod when you harvest it, and certainly as you can imagine, it's not a good idea to take wet goldenrod or any wet plant and just shove it into a brown paper bag and expect it to dry. So I did that and I left it for a week. And I just basically was pretty lazy about it. I watched a video on how to harvest and dry herbs, and she said it was a really great video. And the lady said, yeah, the fastest, easiest way to do it is to just take herbs and put it into a brown paper bag, close it up, put it into a well-ventilated area, come back in a week, and your herbs will be dry. So that's what I did, and that was not what happened to my goldenrod. It came out pretty moldy. I probably could have used some of it, but I have goldenrod in my backyard, and I just quickly went out and harvested some of that. So I have a pretty decent sized patch of goldenrod, but I found that I really didn't even make a dent in it and what I needed to use. So if you've seen on the sides of the roads, everywhere there's fields of goldenrod here in New England in bloom. And I think it's just amazing that we can take something that's considered a weed and use it as a way to connect with the earth, the energy of the earth and plants, and the energy of the sun, and all of Creator's gifts to us, the plants, the sun, the dirt, the water, the animals, using animal fibers such as the wool that I had used to dye it, and then just put my own energy into creating a piece of fabric that either I can wear or I can gift. Is truly, I believe, a miracle in this whole human experience on this earth, and it's super exciting. And I wish I could go back in time and see the eureka moment when the first person discovered that they could dye wool and turn that wool into a little piece of thread, and then turn it into a garment, and so on and so on, and use it as a way to express their art, express, their experience, and have something to wear for shelter and their own just artistic expression. So I think that's why I love this so much. It's like, who would have thought that you could just take the hair off of an animal and turn it into a sweater. So anyways, so as you can see, this is sort of my area. It's really doesn't take up a lot of space. With any sort of fabric dyeing, they say to designate an area out that doesn't use kitchen utensils, so you want to use things that you're not going to cook with. Goldenrod, technically, I first learned about goldenrod in an herbal medicine book, Plants of the Northeast, written by Liz Neves. And she's a wonderful person, and I love this book, and I used it to reference goldenrod, and you can use it as a medicinal tea, tincture or essence, and so the flowers can be used as a tea for sore throat, inflammation, sore joints, sore muscles. So essentially, if you wanted to get a whole armful of goldenrod, steep it in some simmering water. You could do so in the kitchen, and you could just make yourself some goldenrod tea. And technically that should be fine. You take the plant matter out, you dip some fabric in, and you can have some tea and some colored fabric, maybe a towel or whatever. So that being said, goldenrod is not toxic, but still I am going to be using this for other things, so I'm just kind of experimenting and just setting myself up for future natural dyeing process. And so this was all an experiment. I'm going to show you footage that I had taken last night. I would say that the whole process probably took, like busy work, I would say 2 hours. Because with the crock pots, it's really easy to just um, let the plant matter simmer in the water in the crock pot. I left, went grocery shopping, came back, checked on it, and you just sort of set it and forget it until you're ready to come back and do what you want to do as far as experimenting with the colors and the yarn and whatnot, or the fabric. Like I envision myself probably wanting to dye towels, like dish towels, maybe some sweatshirts, some clothing. So the possibilities are endless. But I used yarn for this, and I will show you my process. Some of the things that I learned I will discuss after. Yep. So here I am. I have my wool. I have 2 balls and 1 hank of wool, and I'm just soaking it in regular water, getting it ready to put it in the Mordant bath. And I have to unravel the hank and try and get it untangled. So sometimes these hanks come and they are tangled already, and you have to sort of shake them out, and they come tied up, and you kind of have to adjust them. So that way, when you do want to unwind them and put them into a ball, you can do it with the best ease. And see there, I was able to get it in just a nice circle, if you will. And then I tie it with 1 twisty tie, so I can hopefully find it in the bath and pull it out when I need to. So here it is. It's just regular warm water that is going to soak while I get the Mordant bath ready. And I'm using alum and cream of tartar. So I have it there on the table. And here is the Goldenrod that I was gifted. And I watched that video saying I could just dry it. And that looks awful. And you can see that I'm like, what the heck? How am I even going to use this? And what am I going to do? I can't use any of this. This looks disgusting. Really? Is it supposed to look like this? Is it all like this? It can't possibly. And it's all wet in there, and it's like moldy, and I'm expecting to stick my hand in dead bugs, and then I'm like, well, maybe I can just use a little bit of this. And I'm not happy. But I'm trying to salvage it, and I know I'm recording, and I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do here? So I dig through a little bit more, and look, I got a little bit of something, but that is still not going to be enough to weigh out to 8 ounces, because that's how much I need. And then in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to recalculate all of this, and maybe I have to just stop what I'm doing. And I say, okay, enough of that. So I say, well, I'll just get the Mordant ready. And there's the alum, and it is already in there. The crystals just need to dissolve in the warm water. And there is a formula, and it is for 4 ounces. You use 1 teaspoon and 3/4, and for the cream of tartar, you use 1.5. So you just double that, because I had 8 ounces of animal fiber, so I just doubled it.
and you'll see me, I'm still stewing about the goldenrod and wondering what the heck am I gonna do. And I know I have some in my backyard, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be any good, but I'm just kind of going through it and trusting the process. And I'm just gonna stir it some more. I'm still stewing, and I'm reading the process as I go through this. So this is all part of my slowly trying to do it carefully, but also at the same time fly by the edge of my seat, which is pretty much how I knit as well. I'm not sure what your creative process is, because I certainly am not one to read knitting patterns through to the end. I just cast on and just take it from there. I have no idea what's gonna be the next step or anything, so this is pretty much how I'm doing it. Oh, look, I'm realizing that it's gonna be okay. And yeah, so I let that sit, and I'm gonna put the yarn in the bath. There's the yarn. It's been soaking in just the regular water. I wring it out, and yep, I just plunk the whole ball, because I'm still thinking about the goldenrod, when at this point I should have noticed that it was just going to be a tangled mess. And I'm also wondering if all of this fabric is going to fit into that thing. And again, I'm like, well, let's just smush it in there and hope and see. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But look, it does. So good. So good. So I am going to even put some more water in there. And there we go. So at this point, I'm realizing I'm just going to go out back and collect as much goldenrod as I can. And it will be fine. So off I go out back to go collect goldenrod.
I have 8 ounces of wool, so I need 8 ounces of plant matter. And it looks like I'm over. So I'm gonna just take this, give it a rinse, try and get the bugs out. I've got water in the crock pot going already. So just submerge this. Just plunk it all in there. And I got this on high, and we'll just add some more of this water. There, we'll just push it down. And we'll let it sit in the crock pot for a couple hours to extract the color out of the plant matter to give us our natural dye. There, here's a little bit more water. There. Alright. Okay. So we'll put that on low. We'll experiment since this is my first time. And it looks like the yarn that is getting treated in the Mordant bath is doing pretty good over here. So 2 crock pots. Whoop. Let's see here. Hello. 2 crock pots. That's the Mordant bath with the alum and the cream of tartar, and that's gonna sit for a little bit. I have it on low, and like I said, this is an experiment with the crock pots. And that is fresh goldenrod that I just picked out from my yard. And like I said, 8 ounces of wool, 8 ounces of plant matter. And sorry guys, we're gonna come back in a couple hours and see what happens. Okay.
All right, 2 hours later, I'm ready to take the yarn out of the Mordant bath. I'm going to take it out with a pair of tongs and put the yarn into the colander next to it so it can drain and cool. I had it sitting in a bath at the low temperature. The low temperature of crock pots on the older versions are anywhere from 160 to 180. You don't really want to boil the yarn because it will get too high and it will felt the wool. So you just want to keep it on the low setting. The newer crock pots, you want to be careful because I believe the temperatures are higher. So it's good to just have the Mordant bath on the low setting, and then also for the natural dye bath, I had that on low as well. Marty from the Wrinkle in Time, she doesn't use crock pots. She actually does it on top of a stove. And she just tends to it while it simmers for a couple hours. But I thought I'd like the crock pot method where you can just leave it and come back to it when you are ready. So as you can see here, it's kind of a tangled mess, but it's coming out okay in one big clump. So having tongs makes it easier. And I'm super excited about the process of dunking this into the dye bath and seeing what colors happen. So there you have it. It's going to drain and cool off, and we'll dunk it in the dye.
Hi, so what I'm going to do now is, while I'm letting the plant matter simmer just a little bit more in the crock pot and let the natural dye get extracted into the water, and while the prepped yarn is draining and cooling off, I'm going to go collect some pond water. I was walking around the pond and I found that in the outlet there was some orange algae, which I looked up. It was like an orange slime, and it said that it's an iron fed bacteria that creates that orange slime. So iron is actually a modifier for natural dyes, which will turn, hopefully, this yarn green. So it will go from yellow to green. So that's why I did two balls of the yarn, because I want a yellow and a green. So I'm going to go collect the yarn, the water, and I will be back.
Here's the beautiful stream that I took the water from. I'd like to take this moment to apologize for the audio inconsistencies as I'm learning how to edit these videos. In the next segment, as I do the dyeing process, I do a lot of tapping on the buckets and whatnot, so if you're listening to this on headphones, it might be loud.
Hello, so I'm back from collecting my pond water. Isn't that so awesome looking? So I'm gonna actually strain this. You can actually see some of the orangey algae that's there. So I'm gonna strain that. Hi! All right, so now let's take the fiber out of the plant fiber out. All right, doesn't really look like much, but look. As a nurse, I'm not going to tell you what that looks like, but it's yellow. All right, so I left it sort of in one big clump rather than cutting it out, just to make things easier for the extraction process. And let's see, so this is what I gotta figure out, if I should just strain that or dunk the fiber into it. Here's the fiber. Why don't we go with this one first? All right, let's see here. Let's see what happens. Strain this first. Oh, can you guys see that? It's turning yellow. So we'll put the other one in. Wow. And for the big guy. Let's see if that's going to fit without overflowing. All right, so yeah, it's turning yellow. And it's overflowing, but it's all right, it's all good. That's what towels are for. So I think I'm not really looking for anything crazy as far as a dark yellow. So I actually will probably take out those smaller ones first, which was probably kind of stupid. I probably should have put this one in first. Okay, we can do that. Oh my gosh. So these are already really beautiful. Let's see if I can do this without making too much noise for you guys. Okay. All right, wow. Ooh. Okay. These are beautiful. They are a beautiful shade. These are beautiful. They are a beautiful shade of yellow. And I wasn't looking for anything too mustardy. But these are really nice. This guy. And I will show you. Can you see how yellow that is? Let's pull out the next guy. And the longer you let it sit in there, the more yellow it will be. And I left it in in the balls, and so hopefully we'll get sort of a color variation as, you know, some of the dye hits the inner part of the yarn differently than the outer part. So let's put this back in, and we will let this soak nicely there. And we'll put the cover on. And yeah, so there you have it. I am marvelously surprised and very happy with the outcome of this yellow. And let's see. I will get some pictures that maybe perhaps show it, because I think it's kind of maybe too bright in here. But so I'll just let these strain cool off a little bit so I can handle them a little bit more. And then we're going to take one of these babies and put it in with the pond water, presumably, hopefully it's iron, and see if the colors change. All right, guys, so here's the moment of truth. I don't know what's going to happen, but we have the yellow, and as you can see, as I open it up, it's got a beautiful variation of yellow, more yellow on the outside, and I just love this yellow. It's like a lemony, beautiful yellow, and inside is just a nice pale yellow. And this is just all with the Goldenrod. And I let it just kind of sit in the bath probably for, I don't know, couple minutes. All right, so let's dunk it in here. Let's see what happens. And I don't know the content of the pond water. I don't know if it's gonna turn it green. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's probably, well, look at all that sediment. I probably should have, we'll wash it out after. And I don't know what's happening. It looks like it's getting darker. So we'll let it sit there for a little bit. And one thing I'm not sure if I remember at the dye class is if I should have heated this up, maybe. Possibly I needed to warm this up, but this is all part of the experimentation process. So we'll see. I'm just gonna let that sit there for a little bit, and while we're doing that, why don't we get this big guy out? And we'll see what's going on there. All right. It's like a pot of spaghetti here. All right, here is an end. Looks like a big pot of spaghetti. All right, so we will move it over to here to let it drain some more, and that is a nice pale yellow. The lighting in here is making it look like it's pretty, still its natural color, it's natural white, but the color that I am seeing is a nice yellow. I think I might put this back in there and let it sit for a little bit longer, just to darken it up a little bit more. Let's see, that's okay. Back in the pot, back in the hot tub. Alrighty, so we'll just let you do your thing. Submerge you some more. I still got it on low. Let's see what's going on over here. I'm not really quite sure what's going on over here, if it's green or if it's darkening or what, but yeah, I definitely probably should have. I think the color's different. Like, yeah, it's like filled with dirt. Let's try and dunk it in here a little bit. See if we can give it a bath. All right, so what I did was I poured the pond water, the iron, hopefully, and I poured it because it was cold, and the dye sits better if it's warm. So this is still warm. So I just, and this has the mordant. So I added that water to this and we'll see what happens. So it's on low and we'll see if there's a color change. And this is all an experimentation. So I think whatever we get is still gonna be magical. And I am still really liking the color. And I'm glad that I was able to get all those little specks of sediment out. And you can see the water is, well, it's in a blue thing and it's yellow. So I suppose it would look green. But anyways, we'll see what happens. I'll probably just leave that in there for maybe 5 minutes and we'll see what happens. We'll F around and see what happens. Let's see what's going on over here. I am like loving this. Okay, let's see here. A little pot of spaghetti. Can you tell that it's yellow? Isn't that beautiful? I think so. Anyways, just let that sit in there for, all right. I'm gonna walk away for 30 minutes and we'll see what happens. All right, call me impatient, but I'm gonna pull this out because I believe if it's gonna work, it's gonna work, and if not, it's not. So let's just see what happened. Let's get the rest of this. Call it a night. I'd say probably not. Much happened. So that's okay. Still beautiful. Squeeze it out. Hang it out. There is a little bit of a difference. Alrighty. Don't quit your daydream. Alrighty, and let's go to this guy. Let's see what's gonna happen over here. We'll turn this off. That's off. Let's unplug it. Thank you very much for working. Thank you very much for working. Let's see. I think that's good. We'll just go with that. We'll go with this color. And it's always tricky. I should remember to put a different colored band on this so I can figure out how to get you out of there. Learning. That's what these tests are for. Alrighty, so we're just gonna strain over here. And that's going to get turned off, and I believe that is a pretty good yellow. Why don't you come on over here and check this out. Again, I think the lighting is not great for showing off the yellow, but I'll try and get some photos and some better lighting so you can appreciate just how beautiful Goldenrod dyed this yarn. It's gorgeous. It's like a butter
a buttery yellow. So this will be nice. Okay, so there you have it. I'm gonna hang this, gonna let this drain a little bit more, squeeze it out a little bit, and hang it up on my little rack. And I can definitely see, now that I'm looking at it, you can definitely see that there is a color variation. So there is a little bit of iron in that water to turn it just a slight tinge of green. And it will be interesting to see what it looks like in natural color. This lighting, like I was saying, is not great. The overhead light in the studio here is not great. But look at how vibrant that this yellow is. And then that'll be pretty. You know, once it's dried, we'll untangle it and all that stuff and skein it up. All right, so stay tuned for that. I will be super excited to show you the different yellows from that single dye bath. I didn't do anything to the Goldenrod and the Goldenrod dye bath that I had in that little crock pot. Okay. Beautiful. It is lovely, and I believe you can get the light. The color here seems to be true to what I am seeing here. Okay. Listen to those crickets, the peepers. That's May in summer for you. And there's the yarn with the beautiful goldenrod in full bloom here in Maine, mid-August. And it's so beautiful to see what we can do with it. All right, so as you can see, the yarn on the left is yellow, and that was just dunked into the Goldenrod dye bath. And then along with the ball of yarn right here, that was dunked into the Goldenrod dye bath, and then I dunked it into the pond water that Josie's chasing chipmunks. And the yarn turned green. If you can see, there is just a pale green, and this is the yellow, 100%. Whoa, isn't that beautiful? And then I'm going to show you the other colors. So that is the cochineal. And if you don't know what cochineal, those are like tiny bugs that live on cactus that is used to create this purplish, pinkish, and I believe if you can do some modifications, you can make it red. And this is the madder root. And so these yarns, I have an intention for them. I am going to dye some more balls. I have 6 left of this type of yarn, same weight, and I'm going to intend on knitting the sweater called Wise Weed Sweater by Catherine Clark. It's available on Ravelry, and I will link it in the description. And one of my favorite podcasters, Allie from Black Spruce Knits, she knit this last year, this sweater, and I just loved it. And I love the idea of color work with like weed plants that that can be, just honored into a garment. And I thought it would be really cool to natural dye the yarns to use in this sweater. So, yeah, if you're into plants, then check out this Wise Weed sweater. Like I said, I will link it in the description box. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes as I'm trying to get the natural light to light up these yarns. And as the lighting changes, you can see the difference in the threads. So gorgeous. And like I said, I'm just so thrilled with the idea of being able to take the energy of plants and sun and water and animals and add my own energy into something that I can use as an artistic creative expression. It's just a miracle. So I am so happy to share this with you, and I hope it inspires you. Well, that was super exciting. I just love experimenting with new stuff, and I am super happy with the results. There are a couple things that I would do differently next time, like secure the yarn balls better, so that way they don't become an untangled, or no, not an untangled, an unraveled, tangled mess. It's really difficult, especially when you start swishing them around to try and get the dye to get in contact with all the fibers. It just comes undone, and then it's super hard to untangle wet yarn. So I would tie them and do a better job at tying the hanks as well, so that doesn't get tangled in with the other balls of yarn. As you've watched earlier in the footage, I would do a better job at drying the plant matter if I'm not going to use it right away, as opposed to just putting it into a brown paper bag and hoping that it's just gonna, be at its optimum condition when I come back to it a week later. So next time, what I'm going to do when I harvest goldenrod is take a bunch by the stems, tie that off, hang it upside down, dry it, and then store it when it's dried, completely dried. And I may even try to experiment, see if I can dye it in the wintertime and create some sunshiny yarn in the dead of winter with dried goldenrod. So those are the things that I would do differently. If you have any tips or tricks when it comes to natural dyeing, let me know if there's any other materials that you've used. I know that onion peels are on my list of things to try. I really want to try avocado pits and the peels that I hear makes the fabric pink. And I am certainly open to hearing what other people have experimented with. Other mordants, I've heard of people just using seawater. Some people don't use mordant at all. And mordant, it just holds the color brighter and makes it stick longer. So if you're experimenting and you don't have the Mordant, it's fine. If you just want to experiment and see what colors you can come up with, it just won't be, I believe, as bright, and it will fade faster from what I understand, from what I've read. So yeah, I super appreciate you being here and sticking it out to the end. I hope that you've gained some knowledge and some inspiration and some motivation to go out there and take a walk and look and see what you got in your backyard or in your neighborhood, and to just explore. Look up what you can find as far as medicinal purposes, utilitarian purposes, and maybe even possibly dyeing the fabrics, and looking in your house to see what you would want to change colors. If you're not a knitter, you know, is there like a towel or a skirt or some old garment that you have that you could use some sprucing up with some color? As you can tell, there's some really beautiful bright colors that you can get with natural dyes. So yeah, I hope that this sort of gives you a nudge, and you just go out there and have some fun with it. You can't go wrong with just experimenting and seeing and asking questions and just being super curious. So I hope that I've pushed you in the right direction for that. I am going to say goodbye, and I hope you liked the content. If you did, I hope that you consider liking, hitting the like button, and I appreciate all of you subscribing. And yeah, I really appreciate all of my new subscribers to my new channel. That was like super happy and joyful, and I have much gratitude. I am really looking forward to sharing all of my crafty adventures with you. So I wish you well, and I hope you do all the things that you love. Goodbye.